3, 2, 1.
I'll go ahead. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order and say the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll go ahead and take the roll call. The reason I am starting this meeting off is at this point we don't have a chair or a vice chair for this committee, so I believe we do have a physical quorum in place, so we should be able to take an action to elect the chair and vice chair. But prior to that, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If we can go ahead and do a roll call vote and indicate whether or not we have a physical quorum in place.
Director Kemp?
Here, not physically.
Director Knight?
Here.
Director Overman?
Here.
Director Schisler?
Present.
Director Williams?
Here.
There is a physical quorum in place.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the election of the committee chair, and I'll go ahead and take nominations.
Nominate Melanie Williams for chair. I second.
Thank you. Do we have any other nominations? I'm not hearing any additional
I'll nominate myself.
Okay, thank you.
If that's appropriate, I wasn't sure how that works. We did it last meeting, so I guess I could do it here.
There's nothing that stops you from nominating yourself in this process, and seconds are not necessary.
Thank you.
So are there any additional nominations? Without any additional nominations, I'll ask Ms. Arthur to go ahead and take a roll call vote, and each member can indicate whom they are going to vote for the chair.
Director Kemp?
Commissioner Overman.
Director Knight?
Melanie Williams.
Director Overman?
Myself, so Overman.
Director Schisler?
Williams.
Director Williams?
Williams.
Director Williams has 3 votes and Director Overman has 2.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you, Danielle.
Director Williams has 3 votes and Director Overman has 2.
Thank you. With that, Director Williams is nominated the chair of the Finance and Audit Committee. Elected chair of the Finance and Audit Committee, and we'll move on to nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Director Schisler.
I'd like to nominate myself. Okay, we have 2 nominations. Are there any additional nominations? Seeing no additional nominations, I'll ask Ms. Arthur to take a roll call vote with each member indicating who they are voting for.
Director Kemp?
Myself.
Director Knight?
Director Schisler.
Director Overman? Director Overman?
Kemp.
Director Schisler?
Myself.
Director Williams?
Director Schisler.
Director Schisler has 3 votes and Director Kemp has 2.
And with that, Director Schisler has been elected as the vice chair of the Finance and Audit Committee. And with that, I will turn this over to Director Williams as the newly installed chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Excuse me. Thank you, Julie Mandel. I appreciate the overview and the votes. We are going to move to our approval of minutes. Do we have a nomination for approval of minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Danielle, will you take roll, please?
Director Kemp?
Here.
Director Knight?
Here.
Excuse me, is this a roll call for?
It's a yes or no,
Right.
actually. I
Thank you.
apologize. Director Knight, this is a yes or no to approve the minutes from the Finance and Audit Committee meeting October 19th.
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes. Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes,
The motion passes unanimously.
thank you. Do we have anyone on the list for public comment today?
There is no one pre-registered for public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the reading of the HART Board policy revisions. Julia Mandel will hand it over to you at this point. You're recognized.
Thank you. Before you is the first reading of the HART Board policy revisions to HART Board policy 970.20, purchasing card policy. You have the red line of those revisions in front of you. This was moved forward to go through this process by action of the HART Board of Directors. I understand that these revisions are being recommended by our staff, and if you have specific questions, and I believe John Edmondson is on the line and can answer any questions, and his folks can answer any questions in regards to the revisions to the policy. Thank you.
Ms. Mandel, would you mind identifying key areas of changes that are made? If there are high-level topics, I want to make sure we give an opportunity to the committee to ask questions about the policy change.
Certainly, I would ask Mr. Edmondson to do that since he had brought these revisions for proposed changes, and I am helping to get these changes to direct them through the process. So Mr. Edmondson is on the line if he could give a high-level view of these. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mandel. Ms. Williams, for the record, John Edmondson, Director of Procurement. From a high level, the changes are to bring the policy up to date with other HART policies, to make mention of current HART governing documents such as the procurement manual, to change some of the titles of those individuals involved in using and reviewing purchasing card activities, and then to just align our overall purchasing program, purchasing card program, with the requirements of the procurement manual. The largest and most substantive change is increasing the maximum purchase limit from $3,000 to $10,000. That brings that threshold into alignment with our micro purchase threshold, which is currently at $10,000. And then the other significant change, if you will, again, is just the addition of division chiefs and department directors playing a role in ensuring the compliance with purchasing card transactions and making sure that they adhere to HART procedures and policies, and then also having them play an active role in more than just understanding what the policies are, but they actually have to review and sign off on purchasing card statements every month as well. So those are the significant substantive changes. Everything else is simple language updates to be more aligned with what our current policies and procedures, how our current policies and procedures read.
Thank you, Mr. Edmondson. Are there any questions? Thank you very much. We will move on to our committee action item. We have one committee action item.
I'm sorry, if I could just interrupt you, we do need to take an action to move this to the board for second reading.
Thank you, Ms. Mandel. I appreciate that. Yeah, do we have a nomination to send it to the full board, please?
I'm sorry. Schissel move to forward the this action item, the first reading to the board for a second reading for implementation.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Director Knight. Danielle, will you please take roll, please? Thank you.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Committee Chair Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edmondson, for the overview and the key items that you discussed. I appreciate you stepping in. All right,
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Let's move on to committee action item. Approval of a proposed 5-year lease for the northern portion of Waimanalo Park and Ride with Hillsborough County School District, including an option to extend. Mr. Giroux, I hopefully I said your name correctly. Ronald Giroux.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, and
You're recognized.
thank you. Thank you very much. The Hillsborough County School District has requested to lease 1.08 acre parcel located at 16492 South 301 at the Park and Ride in Waimanalo, Florida, to facilitate the development of the Southern Hillsborough County School District bus parking location. The Hillsborough County School District plans to relocate their bus assets to multiple locations to reduce their headway and traffic impacts, and to assist them with their plan, HART will be entering into an initial 5-year term property lease with options to extend with the Hillsborough County School District. Recommendation is that the Finance and Audit Committee review the action item approving a proposed 5-year lease for the northern portion of the Waimanalo Park and Ride with Hillsborough County School District, including an option to extend, and advance this item to the February 1st, 2021 HART Board of Directors meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one question. Is there any impact to HART as a result of this, as far as effort, financial responsibility, liability, anything that we have to be aware of with this proposed lease opportunity?
Not at this time. No, there's no current impact to HART. The southern portion of the Park and Ride lot is still open. We currently aren't using it to support any bus routes in that location, and therefore it's a prime opportunity for us to show usage within this area and have some security more than we currently do. And we've entered into the legal agreement. The lease kind of outlines all the requirements, and there's obviously due diligence on both legal parties. So at this time, there's no current liabilities for us.
Follow-up question, if I may. If we, in the near future, find the opportunity to expand service into South County, will that create any kind of problems for us then? Looking in your crystal ball.
Not as we have perceived. Not that we perceive currently. There's plenty of parking for our customers and the school board to share that current location.
Thank you. Good.
Good morning, Sylvia Berry, Deputy Attorney for HART. Just to follow up on that, we also have the option to cancel this with a 3 to 4 month notice if we ever need to use that additional space. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Camp. I have a question.
Commissioner Kipp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I was surprised we had property there. Again, this is one of these things where I think it would be valuable for us to just understand what property we have around the county, particularly when I was thinking in terms of our buses and charging stations for long-term use in the future. So it's interesting to know we have this property. But second, and I'm glad to know that we can
Not that I wouldn't want to do everything to support our school system, and I know our school system is in drastic straits, so that it would be something that I think we would, it's important for us to do. But I just wanted to ask, you said that this is a benefit for us in terms of security, I think someone said?
Yes.
In terms of, in what way?
Currently, that property is not used by us on a regular basis, and our maintenance, our facilities maintenance and route maintenance tends to have to maintain this property and continually go down there and make repairs from vandalization, and because it's not a regularly used property. So by having the school board utilize this property on a daily basis and having people on the location, it will prevent a lot of that common vandalism or dumping of trash in that area. So this is a benefit for us because the cost of maintenance would go down, and it would also give some eyes on that property on a regular basis.
I see. Is the property paved or fenced?
It is both paved and fenced.
Oh, okay. Okay, the whole acre?
The acre that they're using is the northern portion. There's another acre to the south that HART would still be able to utilize.
I see. And is that paved and fenced as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I was just a little surprised by the, $1 a year lease, I guess. And, that's typically done as a benefit for the community or the entity that is using it. And it's not that I have objections necessarily. I know both entities are, both HART and the school system are, struggling with budgets that are just very difficult for us to deal with. So I just wanted to note the $1 a year lease, because I just wondered. I don't want to do anything in terms of the school system to hurt them or take away an opportunity or to use it in a better way. That's kind of the reason I asked about security, because I was looking for some additional benefits, and I wondered also, I guess, if there was ever any private interest in that as well.
We haven't had any other private agencies approach us. This was a municipality-to-municipality conversation. When we were in the efforts of looking for surplus properties after the passing of the offer transportation tax, we were tasked from the PMO perspective to go out and look for expansion potential properties. And in those conversations, we had conversations with the school board along with the county and FDOT and other agencies. And that kind of opened the doorway for mutual conversations about utilizing surplus properties that are currently underutilized.
And how long have we owned this property for, just curiously?
I don't have that information in front of me. I'm sorry, but it's been quite a while. We haven't used it in a few years.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the answers to the questions, and I'll be supporting it. I just had some curiosity about it.
No problem.
Thank you for your question, Commissioner Kemp. We will take as an action item the property overview. I think it's a good idea for us to understand the property we have, and we'll note that as staff to take that back and report out as soon as they can. Director Knight, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask on that. Would love to see some pictures or, diagram or something of the property, when we have to make decision. It would be very beneficial if we had more to go with it. Thank you.
I can send that information over. I have that all prepared.
Mr. Giroux, thank you for the response. What we will ask is that we provide this information, and then if there's a motion to move to the full board, we could look at the property at that time. Do we have a motion to move?
I'll move that. I'll move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Danielle, will you please take roll, please?
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Durrell. Is there any old business?
Chair Williams, I have, I don't know whether it's old business or new business, but it's, it fits in both categories. So unless there's someone else that has something, I'd like to bring something to discussion.
Okay, I do see Commissioner Kemp's hand up, but Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Excellent, thank you very much. You know, we just approved the minutes to the October 19th meeting. And this is a common theme that I think I'm hearing here. In that meeting on October 19th, the board, the ART committee actually recommended to the board that we authorize a one-time payment to the HART employees that were covered under the collective bargaining agreement, like the $1,500 that we chose to make sure that those individuals on our front line were maybe not adequately adequately compensated for the amount of time that they spent on those front lines, but as a way of giving them a $1,500 bonus. And so I was excited about that idea. I thought it was a great idea. But for transparency point, and then what we've just heard in today's meeting is if this committee is going to do the vetting of items that are presented to the full board, then this committee needs to have a full presentation of those items that are referred to the board. And when it comes to budget items, it's going to be incredibly important that we see the whole picture. For example, if you go back and look at those minutes, it's very clear that, you know, we were offered an opportunity to support the idea of the $1,500 bonus, of which I was very much in favor of. But in the questions that were asked by committee member Knight, not only here but also at the full board meeting, there was little detail as to what happened with all the other employees. Commissioner Knight, committee member Knight did ask if there were any additional compensation, or if we were freezing or bonusing or raises or those kinds of things to the other employees that were not in that collective bargaining group. And the impression I got, or my impression was that, you know, given the financial situation that we were in, that there was not additional increases to other than this collective bargaining group. And I'm not sure that was the case. And so I think it's critically important that if it was the case or was not the case, that this committee get that information before we're asked to move those items forward. Is Ms. Stiglich available to address that issue so that we're clear about what that vote was about and whether or not there were increases to those employees other than this group for the fiscal year 2021?
Yes, may I speak?
Yes.
Please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Cindy Stiglich, interim CFO for HART. When that item was brought for your consideration for the one-time essential workers bonus, it was only conveyed to those essential workers that were under the bargaining units of both of the ATU. At that point, the decision was made not to convey the bonus or any type of COVID-related incentive to the non-bargaining group or to the Teamsters. This was something that was decided by, the previous interim CEO. There was compensation given, and I think I made that point clear in the budget presentation that was given to you in September for compensation for non-bargaining as the result of a compensation study. That compensation study kicked off about a year in advance of it coming to you for consideration. Employees were engaged in conversations with the management consulting group that was performing that study. At that point, it was also agreed or decided that because non-bargaining employees had not been brought into the marketplace, if you will, with their current compensation, that we would continue on that pathway of going through the study. It was something that was shared, shared to all non-bargaining employees.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the ways in which we defrayed the cost of that was not to give non-bargaining employees any kind of bonus, merit or otherwise, in 21, other than the results of bringing them into Market Point.
Okay, thank you for that. And I did notice that in the presentation that was done, for when the board considered it, that we had a dollar amount at the 1,500 bonus of estimated of $1.2 million, but there was no quantifying on what the increase to the budget would be of bringing those employees, within the range that the study found. And that kind of lack of transparency, I think, is critically important that we address.
I'm sorry, but I did bring that into the conversation in September. I'm sure I threw out the number around $600,000 or $650,000, and in fact, it was notated on the slide.
Oh, I don't recall finding it on the slide, and it was not discussed at the October 19th Finance and Audit Committee meeting because it was not recorded in the minutes, and that's why I'm asking the question.
No, because it was already approved in the FY21 adopted budget. In September, when we went to public hearing, we had already incorporated that increase as a result of the compensation study into the FY21 budget. So in October, we were already in an approved budget cycle.
Okay, so the item on October was really just to authorize the one-time payment. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I just don't recall hearing the other number. And so I did, and then when I went back through the notes, I was unable to find it. So it was actually in September, August and September when we were having those discussions. But I just think that it's important, and we've had another kind of opportunity to have more clarity at this level prior to going to the main board. And I would urge staff to assist us in that so that we're very comfortable with moving any of these items forward because we've been able to fully vet them. And I appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And yes, we strive, to be transparent. That's why bringing that item to you for your consideration was important because that was a non-budgeted item. And there was a decision to try to do that in light of the fact that we do want to recognize these employees, and because we both budgeted at full capacity in terms of restoring what we hope to be a pre-COVID level service, we knew that we potentially had the capacity to offer this bonus without an impact, but we'll continue to monitor the performance of the budget to make sure that we are not going over. And at this point, I'm happy to report that as of December 31st, although you don't get the reports until about a month in arrears because we do have to close the month before we can present the financials to the board, we are exactly where we should be as far as the budget goes. In the first quarter, we are trending at 25% of our yearly budget. So we have been able to absorb that impact and stay within budget.
Excellent, thank you. And this actually is new business. The second item I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier at the strategic planning meeting, that there has been a re-emphasis at the federal level of potential funding that HART in the area of safety, in the area of fixed guideway, in the area of transit investments, all the way across the board, that as a focus of the new federal administration or presidential administration. And so with the planning side also comes the estimate of the cost of those things. And so I was curious if the finance team has looked at the early announcements of executive orders that have been considered to see how HART can capitalize on any of those fundings. A lot of those programs are rather complex, and I know, Cindy, your team is really good at finding those opportunities at the state level, but I'm curious about has the team started looking at what's being discussed at the federal level to see how it might play into our budgeting and finance process?
Sure, may I speak?
Cindy Stiglitz, you're recognized, please.
Thank you. So Commissioner Overman, we do rely very heavily on Holland and Knight, the federal team, to help guide us in some of those opportunities. And we have had those conversations, and they are keeping us abreast of what might be available for us to take advantage of. One thing I did want to mention is that in the beginning, well, actually January 11th to be exact, the second wave of stimulus was announced. That will again be administered through the Federal Transit Administration. HART is expected to receive a little more than $15.7 million through that stimulus package. So that brings the total for us between the second wave, they're calling it CARISA, has a very long name. It's Coronavirus Relief Recovery Stimulus or Supplemental Appropriations Act, if I'm recalling. Between CARISA and CARES, we will receive a little over $55 million. As you know, I had extensive conversations with most of you presented in our FY21 budget that we would be balancing our budget this year as well as putting money into reserves and capital through CARES by allowing us to use our ad valorem in that way. We will look at where we are with exhausting or depleting the CARES Act between now and the end of the fiscal year before we look to then tap into the CARISA. We will apply for it because with any federal funding, even though they, quote, award it to you, it's not a big fat check. It is a reimbursement grant, so we have to go through that process of applying for the funds, putting it in queue, and then as we incur expenses, we will draw down from the feds for that. So we'll have to look at whether or not we'll be doing that this year, or we will apply for the funding and use that in our FY22 budget going forward.
Thank you very much for the update. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Stiglitz. Thank you, Commissioner Overman. Director Knight, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just agreed on Director Overman and some of the concerns because I think we should really try to be transparent as possible. And I'm a real proponent of when we have things that come before us that we get the proper paperwork, the proper, what all you're trying to do. And so we don't have to guess. If it's not, then we need to kick it back until it come right, because when we go to the full board, we want to make sure that we have the proper things to tell them, just like the oversight on the 1 point plus acre or so. It may be something that we need. We want to be partners in with Hillsborough County School or whoever, but the more we come right with it, then we can make better decisions. I'm concerned, and I like to know more about, what the budget. The 636 employees, and we came up with a amount for the bonus, and the rest of the monies, and others that said, I don't recall, but like to know what's the budget. What's the increase or whatever, because we want to be fair. it's a team thing, but they want to look out for all.
Thank you, Director Knight. Ms. Stiglich, are you able to provide that clarity at this point on the $650,000? I believe that's what you're referencing, Director Knight?
Yes.
How many, Cindy Stiglich, Ms. Stiglich, how many people were awarded the $650,000 in comparison to the 600 plus, I believe, on the $1,500? I think that's the question on the table at this point.
I'm sorry, the number of people in the
Yes.
non-bargaining?
Yes.
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I would need to get that from HR. I believe it was about half of our non-bargaining unit, which would have been somewhere around 75, but I do not want to say that for sure. I would need to get that from our HR department. With respect to the essential workers bonus, I believe that was about 654 people. And both of those numbers can be confirmed by HR.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stiglich. What I'm hearing at this point is the transparency and the segmentation of how we approve increases or other things that have to do with the financial budget. So I'll work with Ms. LeGrand offline to talk to her as a chairman, and then as well as Councilman Schuster as vice chair to follow up to make sure we have clarity and expectations around what is being shared and the level of detail necessary for us to make intelligent decisions on this board and on this committee before we move it to the board. I think that was Commissioner Overman's point and her line of questioning, as well as Director Knight. So we want to be very transparent and ensure that it's not only the amount, but it also is the image and our reputation of what we do and the trust of our employees, as well as the trust from the community. So we'll take that as an action item, and I appreciate your openness to answer the questions, Ms. Stiglich, and the questions that the Commissioner Overman and Director Knight provided to us at this point.
I have one question, sorry.
Commissioner
I just want to thank you.
You're recognized.
I think it's just excellent news that we received. I think, Ms. Stiglich, you said $15.7 million in new COVID funding, which is, I mean, the first $30 million, that I believe it was $30 million we received, I thought was a gift, such a gift. A year ago, and now to hear this, I had seen something in the, an article with regards to us and PSTA receiving this funding, which I thought was excellent. One thing I think I heard you say was, in all, 55 million, but was it more like 25 million? Because I thought 30 million before, and then I thought you said 15 million with this, but you said 25 or 55 million in all? Could you just clarify?
Yes.
Ms. Stiglich, you're recognized. Ms. Stiglich, you're recognized.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. The CARES Act was $39,865,488.
Okay, that straightens it out for me. Thank you. It was just, when the second, this 15.7 million, I guess that was just done in like the last week or two?
It was announced by the FTA on January the 11th. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. It was announced by the FTA.
You were cutting out.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you're cutting out. I think you said, did you say it was announced by the FTA on January 11th?
Yes.
Okay. I think that is great news, and I'm very pleased to get the update on that. It is just very, very good for HART in these tough times, and speaks better to help us carry over in this interim period here. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp and Ms. Stiglich. That is good news, and I appreciate you bringing that back around to us and calling that out for the official records. Is there any other new business? Okay, with no new business, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you.